Last month, I had the pleasure of speaking with Tabia, a talented playwright and actress from Montreal. In our discussion about her participation in the local Fringe Festival, our conversation covered everything from experiences of a woman of color in a field that is predominantly dominated by men and what it feels like to not quite fit in. The following is our dialogue. I'm sitting at Julia Chocolat with the wonderfully talented Tabia, and we are going to talk a little bit about her latest debut in the Fringe Festival. Tabia, can you give us a quick synopsis of the play?
Sure. The play is about two superheroes. They've been arch enemies their entire lives, and it's about how they have a run-in, a chance encounter in Paris at the end of the world. Basically, the play is about how they sit and deal and think about what they've done and who they've become and what they've achieved from their lives.
Thank you, Tabia. Now, as someone who is of Asian descent myself, I remember growing up with a lot of pressure from my parents to become a doctor, a lawyer, a business person, or a combination of any of the above. Now, you told me that your parents were at your show at the opening night, and when you told your parents that, playwriting and being involved in theater was something you're passionate about, were they very supportive of you?
It was definitely a whole process. It happened right at the end of high school when I was considering CJEPs. We sort of always agreed that I would go into liberal arts and then pursue law because medicine was never really for me. And even then, giving up science was something that we went through very slowly throughout the process of high school. And really, it just sort of developed that I wanted to pursue the creative side of writing as opposed to political science, even though I'm still interested in it. It's something that they've taken a while to come to terms with, though they're trying very hard to be accepting of it, and they've been very encouraging. I think it's a whole process of give and take, and eventually, essentially they just really want me to be happy with what I'm doing. And once they realize that this is it, I think it's been easier for them.
Wow, that's really great to hear, Tabia. I'm really glad you're on board. Can you tell me, what is it like being a woman of color in a field that's predominantly dominated by white males?
It's been challenging because even then, when you have that, it continues. It's sort of a vicious cycle for females to emerge. But then again, there are also some really great playwrights, some really great females in theater production, and I think as the times are changing, hopefully we'll begin to see a lot more female playwrights come out with their own voices and individual stories.
Thanks, Tabia. In Zip and Wick, their characters talk about being alienated because of their ambiguity. What was your inspiration behind this particular phrasing?
Well, this ambiguity sort of stems, I suppose, from a bit of an irkiness that I have in relation to how, at times, people reject things that are unlabeled. In particular, I would be thinking of sexual orientation or gender identification, but also there's just this need to label superheroes as well. There's this need to classify them as good superheroes, as bad superheroes. Good superheroes save people, bad superheroes kill people. And I've always wondered why, because in the end, superheroes are just like people, and there's no such thing as a good person, as a bad person. There's people, and they do good and bad things, and I didn't see why superheroes needed to fall into one or the other. And when I write, I try to challenge the norm. I try to challenge people's personal views of topics, of subjects, and that's definitely something that I wanted to question in people. Why are you so uncomfortable with ambiguity, with uncertainty? Because it's everywhere, and it's not something to be ashamed of.
I think people always have this need to define others, try to put them and pigeonhole them in places because it makes them feel more secure about who they are themselves. So that's a very interesting take. Now, you were in the 2011 production of the Vagina Monologues put on by V-Day McGill. Can you tell me what are the major differences between writing a play and performing a play, and particularly what's more nerve-wracking on opening night?
Well, as a performer, as an actress, I usually tend to just I chase after roles that I find are going to be very important. And so in the Vagina Monologues on opening night, it was definitely really nerve-wracking yet exciting, because I felt this whole weight of the message of the play, the message of my particular monologue, that I wanted it to be pertinent, I wanted it to be important, I wanted to convey the right message out to the crowd. When you're the only one on stage, it's all up to you. And so that was very exciting and nerve-wracking. Whereas if you're a playwright, you sort of take a step back, and it's mostly just it's exciting to see how the company has interpreted it, how the directors have interpreted it. Zip and Wick number 72 endings, this is the second time it's been performed, and the two directors have taken completely different takes on the script, both from each other and just from what has been written, and it's really exciting to see how it's all just going to come together and how the public is going to take it. So I'm usually quite jumpy backstage if I'm a performer, but if I'm a playwright, I'm sort of frozen solid in the crowd, just terrified of what's going to happen.
Sounds good. So Zip and Wick number 72 endings was featured in the Fringe Festival this past month. What I have discovered from reading many scripts written by women for the stage is that certain images and motifs occur again and again in the writing, many of which seem very unique to the female writer. I have noticed themes of women who are independent, problem-solving, and autonomous. Is this something you actively try to portray in the character Zip or other female characters in your writing?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mention that, because when it comes to classic female roles, female lead roles in plays in the past, it's always sort of been the tragic heroine, and I think maybe it's just been a wave, a certain need to make females more noticeable, stronger, more independent, as you said, in plays that are more popular in contemporary times. And I sort of agree with that. I think it's interesting to see females in new plays who sort of don't take all that condescending plot devices that are so prominent in classic plays. But at the same time, I think it's important to sort of even it out, because in the end, females should also just be as malleable as male leads, and just as complicated, just as flawed, just as weak, and yet just as strong.
And that's actually something I really liked in particular about Zip and Wick. When I went to see it, I noticed there was a lot of duality in the writing, and I think that made the play very whole as a product, and that's something I really enjoyed. So thank you, Tabia. Can you tell us something about what you're currently focusing on your writing, or if there's any other projects that you're working on the side in your busy life?
Well, I usually try to get as much writing, just in general writing, done in the summer as possible. This summer has been ridiculously busy. I started on the Fringe before school had even let out. So right now I've just got a lot of rough drafts, rough ideas sketched out on paper. Every now and then, if I'm on the metro, I'll think of a bit of dialogue and I'll write it down. At the moment, I'm going to be focusing on a play that sort of takes place in an afterlife, and it's sort of an empty space, and the way to move out of it is to select one memory from your life and forget it entirely, which is bringing up a lot of really interesting questions about reflecting on your life and your regrets. I'm clearly sort of stuck in these themes. But the Fringe Festival has been an enormous amount of help as a playwright. We've gotten a lot of mixed reviews. Some have loved it, some have despised it entirely, and the comments are some of the comments are so fleshed out and they're so helpful, and it's really great to get this sort of feedback, and I hope I can take it to heart and improve as a writer, because that's what I would love to do, improve and continue giving out stories.
That's fantastic. I look forward to whatever else you have in store for us.
We'll see how that goes.
Thanks very much, Tabia, for joining me here today. And I look forward to your career and what you will bring us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.